Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. Today I'm joined by David to discuss the best Fantasy Premier League captaincy options for Game Week 30. David, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thanks. You find me in another captain video, not really wanting to talk about my most recent one. At the start of the season, it was just, everything I touched turned to gold. I got the first 17 right in a row, or at least they all delivered anyway. Been a lot trickier recently, and all culminating in the fact that I was one of the many people that captained Paul Pogba this weekend for a stellar -2 haul. So,
Yeah.
credentials for doing these videos rapidly declining.
Yeah, I did. I did the same. Your power has not just deserted you; it's now eating you from within. It's like a bacteria fighting its way through it. So hopefully you can get back to winning ways this week, and hopefully we can get all the viewers and listeners back to winning ways, especially if they captained Pogba or one of the other many top premium assets that blanked in Game Week 29. So onwards and upwards, Game Week 30. I want to start with looking at the fixtures. There's a number of teams with good fixtures, particularly at home. City and Liverpool really. But I want to start with City. I think they have a really good fixture there, and I think Aguero and possibly Sterling as well are great shouts there. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think this fixture for Man City looks very good. Obviously, there will be people who are a bit frustrated about the fact that Aguero and Sterling both blanked against Bournemouth. While we all thought, I thought that they'd probably do well as well. Looking at some of the defensive data for Bournemouth over the last couple of game weeks at home, I suppose it's not really a huge surprise that it was low scoring, and the way the Bournemouth set up was perfect for that kind of result. In the 4 home matches previous to Game Week 29 for Bournemouth, they basically only 4 teams had conceded fewer penalty box shots. Only 3 teams had allowed fewer big chances. They're actually doing quite well at home, in stark contrast to what they were like away. And of course, the other crazy thing is they just stuck everybody behind the ball. 23 shots for Man City, 1 goal, and crucially, it was the whole team for Man City in that game had an expected goal score of 1.19 from 23 shots, which is just crazy. I can't really see that happening again, and I just think that when we come to the Etihad Stadium and it's Watford away from home, I can't really see that happening. I can just see Man City going through this game. They're probably buoyed up now from the fact they're top of the league again in their own right, and Watford away from home. Traditionally, I don't fancy them to do what Bournemouth did at home, which is just to stick everyone behind the ball and it work out in that way. And then the other thing, of course, is that we've got with Aguero and Sterling 2 players who are just fantastic individually in home matches. So in the last 4 home matches, Aguero is second for shots on target, behind only Firmino, but he's second for shots and second for penalty box shots as well. And he's only played 245 minutes. That's the crazy thing. He hasn't even completed all of these matches, and he's pretty much nearly at the top of all of these statistics.
And the crucial thing about Aguero is he scored 8 goals in his last 4 leagues. So all of those underlying stats are turning into absolute amazing goal scoring ability. And of course, the Hornets lost 5-0 in their last away game. Ahead of that game, we predicted they would get beaten heavily to Liverpool, and indeed they did. And one of the reasons was that people were looking at their away form, which was quite good, but the matches were against very easy sides, and whenever they came up against a tough side, for example Liverpool, they tend to get quite beaten, and in Liverpool's case badly beaten. If we are to believe that City are a better attacking side than Liverpool, then they're in for a hiding. One thing I wanted to mention, it's something that you kind of touched on really with the performance against Bournemouth. Of course, they were without Fernandinho. When they were last out without him in December, I did some analysis, so I put up on the screen here using the team comparison tool in the Fantasy Football Scout members area, a comparison of how City do with and without Fernandinho. And the shocking thing then was, this was back in December, when they didn't have Fernandinho, everything halved. Their attacking threat halved, shots halved, and their defensive capability worsened as well. That's kind of cut in half as well. Completely different this time around. So what I've done is I've compared the last couple of game weeks without Fernandinho and the previous 8 game weeks where he was playing as well. And what we're finding actually is that in terms of shots in the box, These are all up, and shots on target as well. These are up as well. In terms of accuracy, the percentage is down, but they've got more shots. And as you said, against Bournemouth, they had loads there. I'm anticipating more. They've got a very slender advantage in the title race, so they're going to need to go for it as well. I cannot see Aguero being rested for it. I can't see Sterling being rested for it either.
Yeah, I think one key thing just for people to be aware of, obviously De Bruyne looks like he's out for, in the words of Guardiola, a while, which could mean anything from a week to a month, I don't know. But, there's very strong chance De Bruyne's not going to play, which for me would suggest that what may happen is that Bernardo Silva will probably drop back into the central midfield trio, which is what he did at the start of the season when they didn't have De Bruyne. And then that was kind of what paved the way for Sterling to get so many starts, for Sané to get so many starts as well. Obviously, Mahrez is still in the equation as well. He played 45 minutes at Bournemouth and statistically was their best player, got the goal as well. So there's a chance that Mahrez could play. That probably will be at the same time as Sterling. But just the fact that De Bruyne has got that injury it is good news for some of the midfield options that play in the attacking midfield, because it means that Bernardo Silva is not quite in that equation anymore. Yeah. So, Sterling I can see starting. Sané may start and may, punish people who finally get rid of him. But, there's certainly not a lot to worry me too much about this particular game for those options.
Yeah, so far we started with, we think, Aguero and Sterling are very good captaincy options. I'm personally going to be captaining Aguero this week unless I hear otherwise, and I will be ignoring everything that Jamie Jackson writes in The Guardian. But let's turn to Liverpool now. Liverpool against Burnley, another team with a good home fixture. Now, Liverpool were obviously the team to beat Watford 5-0 in their last home game, so obviously still a force to be reckoned with at Anfield, even though they last scored more than a single goal on the road back in mid-December. That's game week 18. So people might be looking at Liverpool and thinking, their attacks. I've heard it before as well in the various FPL experts saying that Liverpool's attack is on the wane. It is away from home, but at home, I don't know how 5-0 the drubbing of Watford in any way lessens their appeal. So over the last 6 home matches, I'll just put the figures up on the screen. Over the last 6 home matches, they have scored more goals than any other team. They've had more shots and more shots on target, and are second to Arsenal in terms of home big chances there. They look great, but then can we trust Salah with the armband, or is it Mane, or perhaps even a Liverpool defender who's a better bet for the armband? What do you think?
Well, yeah, there's a lot to talk about here. I think that there's captain options potentially throughout the entire team. We'll start with the attacking ones first because they're the more obvious ones. I think I've been saying for a long, long time, pretty much for every game week that Salah has blanked in the last, I think he's blanked 5 times in the last 6. He's still normally very much in my thinking for the next one, because the numbers that he posts are still just about reliable enough for me to think that his kind of poor form point scoring wise is going to come to an end. So obviously a lot of people very frustrated with the 2 great chances he had against Everton, which he didn't put away. I can't really see that sort of thing happening again, where it's like he's through in those situations and him fluffing, because he's such a quality player. It will come through eventually. So I do think anyone who's thinking of selling him, that's a mistake, absolutely, because he's going to play in game week 31. And eventually he's going to come good. And I feel like I'm a little bit of a broken record, but, last 4 home matches, 15 shots. Nobody has more than that. Only 9 of those are in the box, to be fair. 7 of them are on target. So he's joint 3rd there. So it's not awful. I will admit it's not the best. But if Salah is your only Liverpool attacking option, I think you should seriously consider him for this game week. But Mane and Firmino both doing better. So that's the interesting thing. So Mane, 8 shots on target in the last 4 home matches. Firmino with 9. Mane probably the most exciting looking, because he's had the same number of shots as Salah, but he's had more in the box. So he's had 15 shots, 14 of which are in the box. Only Jimenez has had more in the last 4 home matches than that. And yeah, he looks fantastic, I think, especially in these home matches. And occasionally has sort of been playing quite centrally against the last home match they played. Where he at Watford, where he scored twice, he played more of a central. Obviously, that's when Firmino wasn't in the team, so that might not necessarily be the case for this one. But Klopp certainly trusts him to finish chances, so I think he looks good. attacking options all look very, very good. So yeah,
I agree. I've already swooped for Mane for this. I've decided for my blank game week 31-33 strategy to go Salah, Mane, and Robertson rather than a defensive double up, because I really like Mane's home form. I think it's good for this one as well, and I think all the reasons there, it's exactly the same stats I was looking at as well. And I think if I didn't own Aguero, my decision would come down to Salah versus Mane.
and that's where I'm at right now. I don't know Aguero, so yeah.
and I would be very tempted by Mane. But I don't know. What about you? Are you tempted to not go Salah, or is it just too great a pull not to?
Well, I mean, I've put a lot of trust in the stats that we've been talking about on these videos this year, and so then that's largely what helped me do so well in the start of the season. So I don't want to say if it ain't broke, don't fix it, because it's definitely broke right now. But that method, I don't want to deviate it just because I've had a bit of bad luck with the captaincy. So I may well go with Mane. I think. I mean, it'll take a little bit more analysis throughout the week, and obviously we'll have Captain Sensible to come a bit later in the week as well. But right now, I'm very much torn between those two options. I just wanted to mention some of the defensive ones for Liverpool as well. Burnley, Burnley, I do think have some goal threat, but in this particular game, I don't really think they're going to venture out too much. So, for example, I own Barnes, and I'm probably going to bench him. But where the defensive options look the most exciting is where Burnley have been a bit poor in terms of defending set pieces in away matches. So, obviously, the reason why Liverpool beat Watford so convincingly was largely to do with balls into the box from open play, but also balls into the box from set pieces. Obviously, Van Dijk scored those 2 goals from 2 excellently delivered crosses into the box. But yeah, last 4 away matches, Burnley are the worst for headed goal attempts conceded with 18, and they're second worst for attempts conceded from set plays with 23, and obviously the worst in that department is Watford with 24. So just to hark back to Man City, anyone who's involved in set pieces of Man City could do well this week. But just bring it back to Liverpool, Van Dijk, for example, if you've got him and you're thinking, well, I fancy a clean sheet here because I don't really think Burnley are going to come out their own half, they are looking as weak and as, from set pieces and as likely to concede that type of goal from Van Dijk again as Watford did. So, if you're looking for something really differential and you don't trust Liverpool's attack, but you do trust their defence, then Van Dijk maybe. But obviously, of course, that also involves Trent Alexander-Arnold as well, because he takes some of these set pieces, he puts some of these crosses into the box. Robertson to a lesser extent, because he's not really involved in the set pieces, but he does put balls into the box and has been incredibly reliable for points over the last couple of game weeks. So amazingly, after we sort of said after that Watford game, well, Liverpool defensive options, they had a good game, but don't get too excited. Well, here we go. We've got another home game where we could conceivably see double-figure hauls for Robertson, Alexander-Arnold and Van Dijk all over again.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I would like to have 4 Liverpool players. It would be great to have a defensive double up. I also think it would be great to have Mane and Salah. It's a tricky one. But yeah, lots of options there. The thing that draws me more to Aguero is I just think he's the best option for City. But as we've just discussed there, we don't actually know who the best option perhaps it is Van Dijk himself rather than Salah, but interesting. Tricky tie now coming up, and I put a picture of Romelu Lukaku up because this is Arsenal's hosting of Manchester United. I just think that this looks a very interesting match. I'm not sure who's going to win it, but I think there's going to be goals. And one of the things that interests me about this, now Lukaku is kind of unfashionable at the moment, so I was very surprised last week in the Scout Squad, which is where some of us get together with an article and suggest some players to go into the final Scout picks. I was really surprised that I was the only one to pick Lukaku. He'd just come off a brace at Palace, and indeed he did exactly the same again against Southampton. I'm wondering, is he now a better United captaincy option than Pogba? And also, what do we think of Arsenal's assets for the captaincy? Time to steer clear?
Yeah, I think I'll answer the Arsenal one first. I would steer very clear of Arsenal options for the captaincy because I just don't think you can trust Emery. I mean, the fact that he benched Aubameyang for the biggest game of their season so far, in my opinion, and he might have thought differently. Maybe he did think differently. That's why he benched him. But it's a North London derby, and you're benching your top goal scorer. It just seems so strange. And he changed the game when he came on. So it's like, you think to yourself, well, if he had started the game, he could have won it. And, so then that just puts me right off. And then obviously Lacazette could, fall foul of the same sort of thing because Emery's decided to go for a different approach. So I wouldn't go near them at all. Man United defensively seem to have. I know Southampton did very well against them, but they're starting to keep they've kept clean sheets in games I wouldn't have necessarily expected them to. So while I don't think they're incredible defensively, it just I could see them winning this 2-0 by Solskjaer being. I'm now sort of more confident that Solskjaer knows how to tactically do a job on a team. So yeah, I wouldn't touch the Arsenal option. With Man United, a few people might be sort of thinking, well, the thing with Lukaku is, what about Rashford? He's back now. Interestingly enough, the game against Southampton, Lukaku spent a while on the right wing. He played a lot on the right wing with Rashford through the middle. But with Rashford out, or rather benched for one game, Lukaku played through the middle, obviously scored twice against Palace, and then that meant that Solskjaer deployed him through the middle again against Southampton and played Rashford on the wing. So that might not necessarily happen again. Obviously, this is a big game, so sometimes managers like to go for something a bit tailor-made to their opponents. Mm-hmm. But, there's a chance that Lukaku could be, the number one striker through the middle again. And, of course, there's second leg Champions League coming up soon, and he might maybe feel that he doesn't want to play Rashford or doesn't want to start him, maybe save him for the Champions League. So I think there's a good chance that Lukaku could start. Good chance Lukaku could start in the central role rather than the wide one. And also, in the last 4 game weeks, nobody's had more shots on target than Lukaku. So he's had 11 shots, 10 inside the box, 7 on target, which is, that's nice to see. He has played all of the minutes, so there's no sort of no caveat to suggest that it's even better than that. But yeah, I mean, the only thing is owning him is hard to kind of chew into plans for blank game weeks, I suppose. I wouldn't want to be signing him right now. And if someone has had him for a while, I'd be sort of surprised anyway. So he's kind of like I think he'll do well this week, or could do, but captaincy, it's sort of like, well, not only are there better options this game week, it's like owning Lukaku full stop is probably not something I want to do until the doubles. He might be in my free hit squad, for example, if I play that in 32.
I'm very tempted by him but only if Matic is still out. So what I did is I kind of honed in those stats that you looked at. I looked at game weeks 27 through to 29 because they're the 3 game weeks that Matic has been missing. So I wanted to see what had happened to Pogba. We had some stuff on Twitter. A few people who were at the game tweeted me to say it's true, Pogba is playing more defensively. We could kind of see that from the stats and watching the game as well. But the bird's eye view, the fan's eye view actually at the match, and it was the likes of Pereira who were playing much more in that kind of Pogba role. But Pogba was switched towards the end into a more attacking role. And of course he fluffed the penalty as well. But I looked at those 3 matches. Yeah, no, those last 3 matches. And in terms of big chances, so just this is Matic, big chances. Lukaku's had 4. Pogba is second with 2. But in terms of goal attempts, yeah, Pogba's right down. Because remember, Pogba was the front runner for goal attempts. He was more, even more than Rashford at times. But now he's down to 6 over those 3, which is still fair enough. But only 3 of those are inside the box. Lukaku, meanwhile, 10 goal attempts and 9 in the box. That's amazing. So all but 1 of his shots while Matic has been out. So I think it's that combination of Lukaku being given that chance, as you said, in that central role, but the very fact that Pogba is now moved back, so Lukaku's having to take on more of that penalty box role as well. So for me, if Matic is out in game week 32 for those double fixtures, he may or may not be, but if he is, I'd be looking at Lukaku as a captain option that week. I think he is the best option. Manchester United have really good fixtures, but yeah, Pogba, keep but don't captain at the moment. That's my philosophy with him. Moving over to Chelsea, so looking at the fixtures, Chelsea have potentially another tricky tie, a bit like Arsenal, tricky home tie against Wolves. So what do we think of their options, particularly Higuain and Hazard? They seem to be working a bit better now.
Yeah, I think Chelsea are sort of on the up, I suppose. I mean, I will always insist that they are a bit of an enigma and that they are capable of very strange results, in terms of they'll, get thrashed one week, everything's doom and gloom, Sarri needs to go, and then they'll win one the next week and it sort of all calms down until they lose another game. So then that's always going to kind of be at the back of my mind. Higuain statistically looks kind of nice recently, 13 shots in the last 4. But I think that obviously is from 3 matches rather than 4 matches. So that's not too bad, because only 4 players have had more shots than him and he's played less minutes. So he certainly looks like the kind of person who I'd like in a fantasy team, because he shoots a lot. Accuracy still not great because he's only had 3 shots on target. That may, improve with time. He's certainly on my radar, as is Hazard for the blank, because obviously they're going to be playing Everton then. So, there's a chance that people are going to be getting him in now. Only thing just to say, I think they did quite well against Fulham, but I think even though it was a new regime under Scott Parker, they are still Fulham. So I don't want to read too much into that. But the main reason why I'm not going to captain a Chelsea player this week, other than the fact that I don't own any of them, but if I did, it would be Wolves, who they themselves are an entirely different enigma this season, in that so from the bottom 5 teams, that's only basically Cardiff, that was only this game week, and Southampton are the only 2 teams that they've beaten this season. And yet when you look at who they've played against in the top tier, they drew at Man United, they drew against Man City, they beat Spurs at Wembley, they nearly beat Spurs on their own patch, they drew with Arsenal as well, they put Liverpool out of the FA Cup, so when they play these big teams, and of course they beat Chelsea, at the back end of 2018 as well. When they play these big teams, the fact that they've disappointed you against Huddersfield and against a couple of other teams, that kind of goes out the window, and they very much play to the occasion. And wouldn't be surprised basically if Wolves came away from this with a result. So that Wolves really are the main reason that put me off here. Even if their defensive statistics don't look good over the last 4 game weeks, that kind of means nothing. These are exactly the type of team that will turn up and play up to the fact that it's a big game at Chelsea.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was unfortunate enough to bring in David Luiz for my for his second benching of the season. So at least he's got his rest out of the way. I've got that to look forward to. No more rest, hopefully. But yeah, I agree. I'm not looking at players like David Luiz for a clean sheet. Actually, I'm actually looking in for hopefully an attacking return. But I think Wolves will give them a good go. I think Higuain and Hazard's, they might get points, but
to be honest, I'd be more inclined to captain Jimenez in this fixture than a Chelsea player, because Chelsea have on more than one occasion disappointed in home games like this, and Jimenez just love the guy in terms of what he does.
How we wished we mentioned him in this video last week. How we wished we'd have captained Jimenez this week.
Yeah, again.
Yeah.
So many times he's completely embarrassed the premium options. And we I feel like I should feel really silly for not doing it, because every game week we look at the tables that we've got to do these videos, to do Captain Sensible, and he's up there every time. And the reason we don't captain him is because he costs 6.9 and he plays for Wolves. But really, if he's posting these kind of figures every week and he's having the same type, he's in the same area of the table as Aguero, is above your Liverpool options, then sooner or later there's going to come a time when we probably should do it. And hopefully it's when we actually do it and he does well. So, a couple of doubles coming up, maybe that's the time to start thinking about Wolves and thinking about him as captain.
Okay, before we go, let's have a look at some of the other possible candidates as well. Now, Kane away to Southampton. He's slowly but surely, Spurs aren't looking good. He's not looking particularly good. But slowly but surely he's getting the returns as well. Is he a good option?
I think the penalties is helpful. I can see Spurs scoring here. I think so. For example, I have Son, and a lot of people are getting rid of him. I'm going to hold on to him one more week probably, because I don't fancy Southampton keep Spurs out. The only thing I'll just say about Kane is that I was really unimpressed with his performance in the derby, and that was more just from the fact that he seemed kind of allergic to passing. All he tried to do all game was kind of take on defenders, and he just got swarmed. So, so basically, had he passed a lot more, he could have actually provided some assists for Son, who was in good positions and he didn't see him. And if Pochettino can say to him this week, look, you got to offload the ball a bit more, because they just he took them down too many, dead ends, then, maybe. But for now, it's sort of like, for 12.4 million, he's not really, he's got a bag a hat trick for me to consider him. And actually, to be fair, Southampton, he scored a hat trick against them before, so maybe that could happen this week. But for me, there's not enough to go on to captain him. So.
Perhaps a better differential option could be Vardy for Leicester. We spoke I think it was in the Scoutcast last week. There was some research that Ruth NZ, one of Fantasy Football Scout's poster, had done, posters done into Vardy when a manager leaves and a new manager comes in. And Vardy is prolific. He scores. He gets attacking returns. He hasn't got huge amounts of points, but he is getting attacking returns in those matches, and I fully expect him to do so against Fulham. I think he could be quite a nice safe option, actually. I can't see him not scoring against Fulham. What do you think about Vardy as a good differential? Because there's quite a few new owners now for Jamie.
Yeah. I think I'm with you. The idea of him not scoring against Fulham seems more odd than the idea of him scoring. So, that's a good starting point in terms of peace of mind anyway, if you're going to captain him. Fulham at home, defensively still pretty poor. Last 4 home matches conceded 48 shots in the box, which is 11 more than the second worst, which is Everton. So, they really are pulling away in a league of their own even more in terms of shots that they concede. Big chances, it's not as bad, but still pretty bad. It's 8. Only 3 teams have conceded more in the last 4 home matches. But just the sheer volume of shots. I mean, you've got to assume that Vardy's going to be involved in there somewhere. Yeah. And also, just Fulham, they're calamitous at the back. I can see a penalty in this game, which I'm sure he could take as well. Only thing just to put people off, obviously, there's a yellow flag on him. But Brendan Rodgers seems, fairly confident that he...
Some kind of head injury, isn't it?
Yeah, some kind of head injury, which, if it was concussion, I think he would have done all the protocol by next week. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see for the press conference. I mean, if you're seriously considering Vardy, then wait for the press conference before you make a decision, because I'm sure we'll get an update from Brendan to just say that he's fine, but he's still a doubt, which would be annoying, or rule him out. He's not going to rule him out, though. I can't see that happening. I think he just got a bit of a knock to the head, and he should be fine.
Okay, and I mean, we're getting down to I'd say Vardy, the bottom of the barrel. He's near the bottom of the barrel when you look at the likes of Aguero and the Liverpool assets. But is there a bottom of the barrel to mention at all, or is it time to wrap up?
I think that the very bottom of the barrel could be Solomon Rondon, who obviously last 4 game weeks, no one's had more shots in the box than him. 7 of them have been on target, so he's joint top for that. I think as an individual, he is due a goal. I haven't actually looked at your goals imminent table this morning, but I would imagine that he's probably still on there.
Yes, he is, and he was very due at the weekend. And
I think he lives there though. He tends to. I think he's starting paying rent on the goals imminent table.
Yeah, he does. He's one of those. He's on there because the goal imminent table is measured over 4-week periods. So if you have lots of shots but only 1 goal tops over 4-week periods, you end up on there. And so that's him. That's his calling card. But then he will have a couple of games where he'll score loads and loads, and then he'll stop again for another 3 or 4 weeks. So, yeah, he's due.
Yeah, definitely due a goal. I mean, Everton, surprisingly, statistically, actually better defensively away from home than they are at home. 4 big chances conceded last 4 away matches. Only 2 teams, have conceded fewer than that, which is a bit odd. But I fancy Newcastle to get a result in this game. And yeah, like I said, Solomon Rondon very much, long-term, fixture on the goals imminent table. So it's about time that he went off it again to then come back in maybe a couple of weeks' time.
Yes, excellent. Good. Some good choices there. Once again, lots of choice as well. But I think it's all about City and Liverpool, really, for those very top choices, I think.
Yeah, that's going to be the decision to make.
Yes, David, thanks so much for joining me, and good luck with your captaincy decision this week.
I'm going to need it this time.